reach for that brass ring.
And this is The Brass Ring, Episode 1, with your host, good old JRei, along with my co-host, Mr. John Stephens. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm awesome. Nice to see you.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, so The Brass Ring, what we do is we go back in time to when WWE was at the pinnacle, or shall I say WWF, the true wrestling and true king of sports entertainment. And what we'll be coming to you at least once a month, bringing you past pay-per-views. So today, me and John are going to be talking about Extreme Rules of the past. What's our best match? What's our best superstar? How do we feel about Extreme Rules itself? But before we go into that, let's tell y'all a little bit about our history and a little bit about our wrestling love and knowledge. Well, John and I have known each other for about 15 years.
That's right.
And we've been talking wrestling for 15 years.
All that time.
So, I'll ask you this to start off, John. Your favorite wrestler and why?
Definitely Chris Jericho.
And why?
Well, just because he's the best. I mean, I love his stage presence. I love his personality. I love his promos. And he's willing to do any kind of match there is.
Yeah, I love the fact that on his debut night, he had the testicular fortitude to come out, interrupt The Rock, and go one-on-one with him on the mic.
And it was pretty even.
It was.
It was pretty even.
I would give The Rock a little bit of a win, but that was because it was Chris Jericho's first night.
Sure.
But that mic work was fantastic.
Yes.
And then my favorite wrestler would have to be Triple H. And the reason why Triple H is my favorite is I just love his charisma and his mind frame and his work ethic. For one, he was able to just jump back and forth from heel to face so fluidly. Unlike the Big Show, who out of every superstar has probably done the most flip-flops for no reason. I mean, all of a sudden he's face one night, in the next pay-per-view he's heel, and with no discussion why.
Yeah, he seems to be the one that he would turn on you faster than anybody else.
And for no reason.
Right, for no reason. He didn't even have a motive.
And then when it comes to Triple H, it didn't matter if he was the most vicious person in WWE past Vince McMahon. As long as he put on a DX shirt, DX jacket, he got every pop in the world. And that takes some talent. That, and now he is the man.
Yeah, I think
in Connecticut.
Yeah, he's like number 5 in the company now, isn't he?
He'll be number 1 soon. It ain't going to Shane.
Going to Shane. No, I think he's above.
It's going to Paul.
Yeah, I think he's above Shane, but he's. I don't think he's above Stephanie.
When it comes to taking over the CEO, I believe he would be.
Wow.
I believe he would be.
That would be something.
Here's the thing, and I don't want anybody taking this the wrong way, but we live in a society where this is going to be taken the wrong way anyway, so if y'all feel offended, screw you. But with how old school and traditional Vince McMahon is, I could see him passing it down to a male and not his daughter.
I agree.
I don't want to seem misogynistic. I just know characters, I know people, and I just think it's going to go that way. For one, you look at what Triple H has done with NXT and his development. I think he has more of a mind for in-ring than Stephanie does. Stephanie's done great globally in getting sponsors, getting everything behind Susan G. Cumin and all that stuff. But I think when it comes to actual product, I think Triple H or Paul Levesque has more of the mind frame for it. And I think that's where it's going to go.
Stephanie's the greatest ambassador they have. If there's any group that has to be met, whether it's children, adults, foreign countries, Stephanie's the perfect person for that.
Oh, and she does it with a smile.
Of course.
Time.
Oh, she genuinely enjoys it.
And see, that's what I think is funny about her character is everybody thinks she's this evil woman when in reality she would give you the shirt off her back if you needed it.
And some people would like to see that.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
now,
maybe McMahon-Helmsley era Stephanie.
Oh, before the implants?
Yeah. The implants don't really work well with her, especially now she wears these business dresses that just it doesn't work. It
I think I have to disagree with you. It works for me. But Triple H is probably the best at spotting talent. He's probably the best at picking out talent, and that's why NXT is doing so well.
Well, he learned that probably from JR. I mean,
of course.
JR is the master scout when it comes to wrestlers.
Well, I think JR has influenced a tremendous number of people. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's still working today.
He is, and even with broken ribs.
Even with, gosh, he took a vicious bump and he didn't even know it was going to happen, and he got right back up. So
hey, but Josh Barnett, his commentating partner at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he came to his aid. Man, he jumped up off that table, went into the ring, and started yelling at the official about how that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Well, he's 66 years old.
Exactly.
All
right.
He's not Vince McMahon. At 66, Vince McMahon could take that bump, but not JR.
Well, so can Jerry the King Lawler. Though he'll have a heart attack afterwards, he'll take the bump.
That's not going to happen again.
No, it's not.
Certainly not on camera.
In Memphis, he still does take bumps and stuff in the ring.
Of course.
He's one of those. I think he's going to die in the ring. Please don't. We love you, King, but...
People have been saying that about Ric Flair for how many years?
Yeah, but Ric Flair got out.
I know. Well, he got out after his prime, but yes, he got out.
All right. So now that you know a little bit about us and a little bit of how we feel about wrestling, we're going to get into Extreme Rules. Now, I think how we're going to do this is everybody likes hearing everybody's bests and favorites and all that. So why don't we go backwards? John, I'm going to ask you this first before I give my answer. Out of Extreme Rules 09 all the way to last year, 2017, your worst match?
Well, we may be in agreement on this, although I think it's got to be Santina Marella and Vicky Guerrero in the hog pin match.
I will agree 100%. Back in 2009, which was the first Extreme Rules pay-per-view that WWE produced, and the reason why it was produced is at that time you had the split between Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and ECW. Well, what creative and everybody in management decided they create a pay-per-view that kind of brings ECW fans in to watch. And it was a great concept, but at this time, WWF was going through the switch to the PG era.
Boo.
I agree. Boo. So they had this extreme idea, but there was no blood. It wasn't true to ECW. But 09, I really did like the pay-per-view overall, except for the hog pin match. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain this hog pin match to you. In a hog pin match, there is a huge pin. Now, 3/4 of this pin is filled with slop and mud and just grunge. And the other 1/4, it was pinned in with actual pigs. Now, originally it was supposed to be Vicky Guerrero versus Santina Marella, not Santino. This was his other persona where he played his twin sister, Santina Marella. And they were supposed to battle for the title of Miss WrestleMania. And originally they all come out, they're in nightgowns, and how nasty that must be even before Vicky Guerrero. Chavo Guerrero came out with Vicky. Now, originally it was supposed to be one-on-one. Vicky Guerrero announced to Jerry Lawler that it was going to be a handicap, so Chavo got in first. I'm not going to explain the whole match. Chavo got muddy, Santina got muddy, then Vicky got tagged in, and she got extremely muddy, and she lost. Now, the worst moment of this, as I was watching this, John, was thinking about the legacy of Chavo Guerrero. How do you think this match helped or destroyed, I should say, his legacy?
I think it went from Latino heat to Latino split.
Absolutely. You know, he did such a great job with his uncle, Eddie. We love you. We miss you.
R.I.P.
And, you know, it was great having Vicky be there because you kind of got to feel, hey, Eddie's somewhere here. But it was a total joke because this was also the same year that she was married to Edge. Kayfabe married to Edge.
Yes.
And he divorced her right after that match.
Yes.
And it was a horrible thought out match. It was a horribly done match. And it had horrible outcomes afterwards.
Honestly, the only thing I liked about Vicky was excuse me. I love the excuse me.
Excuse me.
It was great.
Yeah, that's all.
The storylines they put her in were so absurd.
Yes,
it was disappointing.
So I'll agree with you that probably is my number one worst. Let me just drop a second one on you. And it was the Tag Team Country Whipping match back in 2011. This Tag Team Country Whipping match was Jack Swagger and Michael Cole versus JR and Jerry the King Lawler. Now, Michael Cole comes out in old school, like college orange, bright orange wrestling attire, a one piece with a big wrestling over the ear guard, like ear guard, and then he's also wrapped in bubble wrap.
Yes, I thought it was great.
He thinks he's going to get off. He thinks he's going to get off, and what happens? The bubble wrap ends up, getting ripped off. To me, this
Jack Swagger just kept trying to pop the bubbles.
Yeah, Jerry ended up ripping him off. Now, the reason why I put this as his worst match is it just felt that they put all this together just because Michael Cole wanted to do something in ring.
Yes.
Because that's all that was that year.
Yes.
It was him running away, then him being in the ring, and it only lasted for about a year.
Right.
And that's all it was. Hey, here's your time, Michael Cole. You've been announcing for so long. Here, let's throw you in there.
And it made Jack Swagger look silly.
It did. It did. Now, the best part of that match, I will say, is that JR put the ankle lock on Swagger.
That was
cool. So he used Swagger's own ankle lock on him. That was probably the best of it. Michael Cole and Jack Swagger ended up winning, with Cole rolling up JR.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we go on, John, how do you rate your matches? When you look at a match, how do you rate it? If it's good, bad, horrible, one of the greatest, how do you rate your matches?
First of all, I want to see the excitement. I want. If I enjoy it, if I enjoy how they're moving around the speed, then I automatically give it a good rating. And I've rated matches that were great that the crowd wasn't into at all.
Yeah.
But the other way is I watch the crowd reaction. And when you hear the crowd yelling "Holy blank, holy blank," it's good.
We're a podcast. You can
this
say
is
shit.
awesome. Oh, I can? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. When you hear the crowd yelling "Holy shit," that gets you motivated. Or when you hear "This is awesome," it's a great motivator.
Real side note that we've mentioned the holy shit moment. I think it is totally wasted now. I think people scream that on the most innocent of a spot.
Yes.
It used to be used when Shane's dropping 30, 40 feet off of scaffolding.
Which I still don't understand how he did that.
Exactly. I don't either. And that he was willing to do it. And he did multiple stuff like that.
Right. More than once he jumped off the Titantron.
Yes. And then you had Mick Foley, of course, the Survivor Series, off the cage.
Yeah, well, he didn't land so gracefully.
No, he didn't. But that's when holy shit should be used.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
When someone gets tombstoned on a steel step now, that's not a holy shit moment.
No, not at all.
It's not. When they go through an announce table, just by an attitude adjustment or something like that, that's not a holy shit moment.
No.
If you want to do a swanton dive off of a 20-foot ladder onto the announce table, that is a holy shit moment.
Or off of the second floor balcony onto a table set up in the aisleway.
Exactly. That's when it deserves it. So sorry for that side note. I do believe that that moniker is being overly used. Though I'd rather hear that than CM Punk chanted in stadiums that have nothing to do with CM Punk.
Hey, people, CM Punk's not coming back.
No, he is not.
Ever.
He is
done.
not. He's done. For one, and I talked to my wife yesterday about this because I was rewatching some of these Extreme Rules, and the 3 that I watched back to back all had CM Punk in it. And I enjoyed it because I was able to see each year how his character was progressing, who he was with, and all that. But we got talking. Even if CM Punk were to come back, ladies and gentlemen, he is not going to be that same CM Punk. For one, he has too much hatred for the WWE for him to even come back. But even if he lets some of that go, he's still going to have that resentment towards the company, and it's going to show. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be that pipe bomb and all that. It's going to be lackadaisical. He's not going to put in the best effort. CM Punk is gone, ladies and gentlemen. CM Punk, get out of the octagon, and dear Lord, enjoy your wife.
There you go.
Because if you're not going to do it, I will. All right. So I gave my worst. What's your second worst?
Probably Hornswoggle and El Torito because it was one-sided. But, it's a kickoff match. It's a gimmick match. And, to me, I love Hornswoggle. He's a great guy. But he was way outclassed. And
Oh, well, Hornswoggle just kind of really came in as a joke. And they used him in certain events. But El Torito, he actually could wrestle.
Oh, well, he was a professional.
Exactly. So he had the skill. I do kind of miss a little of Hornswoggle.
I'm not a huge fan. Never was a huge fan of Ryback. So some of the Ryback stuff I really didn't care for. I think putting John Cena up in 2013 as their marquee match, I didn't really care for that.
Well, one thing I didn't really care for was Extreme 2012 when you had Ryback defeating Aaron Relic and Jay Halton.
Right,
and
exactly.
all it was 2 local guys. That's something you do on a Monday Night Raw. That's not something you waste time at a pay-per-view on. Because everybody knows it's going to be a squash, and what it was is I think it was a minute.
Right, exactly.
And he pinned them both at the same time on top of each other.
That's not even a Raw moment. That's a Saturday morning moment.
That's a superstar moment.
Of course.
Yes.
That was silly. If you're going to put somebody out for a pay-per-view, give them competition.
Yes. One mediocre match. I wouldn't put it in the worst, but I sure as hell wouldn't put it in the best. Is back in, if we go to the original, the first one, 2009, back in New Orleans. It was a try show because you had Raw, ECW, and Friday Night SmackDown. Mm-hmm. Was the steel cage match for the WWE Championship. Mm-hmm. And that was Randy Orton, who at the time was the leader of the Legacy, when he had the punt move.
Yes.
And then he was fighting Batista. Now, at this time, Ric Flair was working as Batista's mentor, and Randy Orton started going off on Ric Flair, which infuriated Batista, so they ended up in a steel cage. Now, Batista ended up winning that title. I didn't have a lot of pops in there. But I think the reason why I didn't like it is it was a really short match. With all the tension that was built up around it, it was like a 6-7 minute match. And it made me also think, if you really look at Batista, he doesn't have a lot of a big, huge body of work with lengthy matches. He's never been that huge, lengthy type wrestler.
Yes.
If you look at the Royal Rumbles, he's always usually in the 22 or higher. He's not ever a mainstay for a 20-minute match like anybody else that came out of Evolution. Triple H, he's done 60-minute Iron Man matches. Randy Orton's done long matches. Batista, not so much. Now, later in a few Extreme Rules down the line, he did do a lot better with... who did he fight? I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am looking in my notes right now for this. Oh, that's what I thought. It was the last man standing with John Cena. And before I go on, let me explain to you how I rate my matches. I rate my matches really off, I agree, off a crowd, but especially nowadays, crowds can be fickle. You can't really go on what the crowd is because you got Split, you got Roman sucks, you got Let's Go Roman. So you don't get what you used to in old school wrestling when the crowd really did tell it how it is.
Right.
So I really look at what are the big pops, what are the big moves, what are the solid awesomeness of it, and like the hog pin match. All I've got is Santino wins. That's it.
Right.
I mean,
that's because there was nothing else notable.
Exactly.
Except Chavo's career comes to a screeching halt.
Exactly, and that could be the worst moment in the Extreme Rules history.
But the most oh shit moment in that whole pay-per-view from 2009, and you know what it was. It was Jericho.
Well, we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
So that's how I rank mine. Now, as you kind of teased just a minute ago, back in 2009, there was a no-holds-barred match for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, this match I wouldn't put as best match, but I would put it as best moment. One of the best moments in Extreme Rules history.
What match do you think was better on that night than that one?
I'm not saying that night.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm talking about when we look at all Extreme Rules, I'm not going to put that as the best match, but I will put that as the best moment in probably all of Extreme Rules history.
Okay. All right.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, this was a no-holds-barred for the Intercontinental Championship between Chris Jericho, which at the time was during his Save Me character.
Yes, I remember.
He wanted to remove the mask of Rey Mysterio because he believed the mask was Rey's downfall and that he was hiding behind the mask. And like he said, he wanted to save the WWE from that. Now, Rey Mysterio came into this as champion. His mask ended up being removed during a 619, which distracted him and got Chris Jericho his pin. Now, what makes this so important is this is when Jericho beat his own record and became a 9-time Intercontinental champion, which to this day still holds. The only person behind him, The Miz. The Miz is one away. One away.
He'll get it.
Oh, he will. He deserves it. And I think Chris Jericho will be in the back giving him a huge hug afterwards.
Of course.
Because I believe The Miz is the new is the mouth that Jericho left.
Wait, are you trying to say The Miz is awesome?
No, I say is awesome.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, love me some Miz.
I don't know. I got a little freaked out when I saw that promo for his new show, and he came out and did the naked photo shoot. That's a little more than The Miz.
I hate reality TV, but I may actually look into watching that.
You're going to record every damn show, and you know it.
I'll watch the first one and see how it is. The thing that actually changed my mind about that is the fact that he lives in Austin now.
That's awesome.
He moved out of California and moved to Austin. So hey, California, up yours.
Ha ha. We pulled another one away. Yeah. Guess what? He's not paying as much in taxes either.
Now, another one of... Instead of me going on and saying another one of my best, John,
sure.
Why don't we hear one of your best?
Ooh, man, I got a lot of them. I love seeing Tommy Dreamer come out in the first one. I mean, anytime I see Tommy Dreamer, that's great because he's not around much anymore. But
okay, so that was the Extreme Rules Triple Threat.
Yes.
For the ECW title.
Yes.
And that was Christian, who walked in as the champion.
Yes.
Tommy Dreamer, who storyline was on a 1-day contract extension because it had just ended, and he said that if he doesn't win the belt, or I'm sorry, Vince, I know you don't like it called the belt anymore.
Right.
If he didn't win the title, then he would leave. And then you had the other participant in Jack Swagger, which was the former champion, so he was just getting his rematch.
Yes.
So what exactly happened that you liked in that match?
Well, I don't remember what happened in the match too much. I just remember I enjoyed it.
You like what happened at the end.
Sure.
If y'all don't remember, Tommy Dreamer ended up winning and becoming ECW champion for the first time in WWF ECW, but then he had only won it once, well, actually in WCW itself. So for him, this was a big moment. So I like that. I like that choice. You got another one? Or you want me to give one of mine?
You know, I'm a huge Charlotte fan because I'm a huge Ric Flair fan, and I really enjoyed. It sounds silly to drop female names, I think, as best matches, but Charlotte and Natalya was very, very good. And I'm really appreciating Charlotte and who she is. And of course, it helps that her dad's Ric Flair.
That's right. That was a submission match for the WWE Women's Championship. So that was before it was split or anything. This was back in 2016 when it was only one belt.
Correct.
And she ended up submitting Natalya. They've always had, those two have always had good matches. But if you look at their history, they could always have that charisma. I mean, you look at Natalya's family with Bret Hart and British Bulldog and all of them, and then you look at Ric Flair. So they've always had that kind of, I wouldn't say friendship, because I've heard they have had bad feelings towards each other at sometimes, the whole families.
Well, Bret has his moments.
Exactly. So, no, it was really nice to start seeing the women on Extreme Rules. Because back when it started, the only one you had was Vicky Guerrero versus Santina, and that was just a joke.
It was silly. But the women we have now are serious.
Yes.
They are really, really tough. Most of the women on the roster today,
can
take on the men.
You look at back in 2010, you had what was called a makeover match.
Right, exactly.
For the women's championship.
It was all TNA back then. The Attitude Era was all TNA.
Well, the thing is that was with Michelle McCool. Yeah. She walked in as the champ with Vicky and Layla by her side against Beth Phoenix. Now, the only difference between this and any other match is on a table outside, there was a bunch of makeup. That's really all.
You knew somebody was going to get messy.
Exactly. So it wasn't a very good match, but Beth Phoenix ended up winning. And then it was years later, and so it was the next year that really got to be good for the women, and that was probably another huge moment that we're going to talk about in Extreme Rules history, and that was it was number 5 on the card. It was a no DQ, no count out, and if you lose, you leave the WWE.
Yes.
And that was between Michelle McCool and Layla after the split of Laycool. So what'd you think of that match?
I thought it was unbelievable. I thought they both exhibited great talent, and I was sad that someone had to lose.
That was probably one of the best matches I had seen Layla be in, and I think it was a real tribute that her partner for so long was the one that said, hey, get the rub off me. I'm leaving, you get the rub.
Right.
And I think she really learned that from her soon-to-be husband after that, The Undertaker. The Undertaker is that traditionalist who is, I think he was happy, side note real quick, he was happy that Brock Lesnar beat him because Brock Lesnar did get a lot of drive from that.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure he's probably upset of what that's become now.
Yes. Right. Oh, yeah.
Everybody is. You wasted that moment on that. Yeah, you lost to Roman Reigns the next year, but it didn't have the same impact that it did when you lost to Brock Lesnar.
Well, the shock value for the crowd, that I think, that's what you remember more than anything is the shock value.
That one guy with his eyes wide open that became one of the first memes in history.
Yes, and the crying that was going on. Yeah. People honestly could not believe that could happen.
Yeah, so I think she learned that. But then she didn't just give Layla the rub. When the match was over, Karma's music hit. Karma came out and put a finisher on Michelle.
I remember.
And that's when all the women in the back just stared at the screen seeing Karma. So not only did she put her friend Layla over, but she put Karma over also. Now, a lot of you probably don't remember Karma because Karma was only around, I'd give it maybe 6 months at the tops.
Right. She wasn't around long.
She was not. She came in. She was a flash in the pan. She had some health issues. She came back. She was back for like 2 weeks, and then she was gone.
She got pregnant.
Yes. And she ended up losing the baby and taking more time off.
I never knew if that was a real work or if,
I don't think it was because there was never any pictures of her 9 months later or anything with pictures of kids or anything. So I'm thinking it may have actually happened, especially seeing how she left like 3 months later.
Right. I don't know that she ever got on with the staff though. I don't know that WWE management,
No, I don't think they were a big fan of hers.
That was back before, Nia Jax, and they just didn't have big girls there.
They didn't
have it.
They did not. Karma actually made her way from TNA. Because originally, WWE wasn't going to do it. You had Kelly, you had Michelle McCool, you had girls that maybe were 135 wet.
Right.
So you're not going to have a girl that's 200, pushing 300 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said 200. You need to go a little north of that.
Exactly. So, I wish her the best of luck and all that, but I'm glad she didn't stick around. I wasn't a huge fan of hers in the first place, and I think that's also management. They're like, you know what, you may have been good in TNA. I just don't think you're going to be a fit here.
If they'd given her a storyline that she could have worked, we might have seen something. But
yeah,
she has to have a storyline. I mean, you can take great wrestlers and give them terrible storylines, and they're gone.
Yes. All right. Another one of my best matches and best moments. Well, I wouldn't call it the best match. I would call it a best moment because someone finally got what they deserved. And that was back in 2011. And it's a SmackDown and Raw pay-per-view in Tampa. And this was a ladder match between Christian and Albert Del Rio. Now, John, do you remember much about this match?
No.
All right, this match was a huge match because the World Championship had been vacated. This was when Edge had to vacate it.
Oh, neck injury.
After that WrestleMania.
Sure.
Who he got from Albert Del Rio.
Sure.
So he had to vacate it, and that Monday Night Raw, they had a huge battle royal for who was going to face Albert Del Rio for the championship. And it was Christian who won. So Christian
One more match.
I love Christian. I think Christian was extremely underrated.
I think he got pretty high ratings. He was probably underrated for what he got, but Edge outclassed him, or Edge outshone him.
But still, I don't believe Christian got the due he really deserved.
Right.
And that's what, to me, makes this match so well, is Christian ends up winning the match, winning the World Championship, and then Edge comes out, big hug, everything. That, to me, was a great moment, because you're saying you're sad because you're having to say bye to Edge, which, when he made his retirement speech, I'm not afraid to say it, I teared up. I was not expecting Edge. He was at the top of his game.
Yes.
The Rated R Superstar was at the top of his game. Lita, it was he owned the business at the time.
Yes.
So to see his buddy Christian, who they made so much history with before, get the belt that he had to vacate, kind of gave me goosebumps a little bit. It was fantastic.
I thought it reeked of awesomeness.
It did reek of awesomeness, yes. And fans definitely got their 30-second pose on that one.
Oh,
that was a long hug.
Oh, yeah. Great.
So
that
would probably be one of my other best moments.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest things about them was the 30-second pose. That was beautiful. I don't know who came up with that idea, but man, did it work.
Well, they had said in previous interviews that they just tried it one day and they just saw all the flashes go off, so they kept doing it. And originally it was a 7-second pose.
Yes.
And sometimes they give you a little bit more if they had the belts on them or whatnot.
Well, people didn't have time to get their cameras out in 7 seconds. You got to give them a little more time, you know.
Well, now it doesn't even matter because everybody's recording through their phone anyway.
Isn't it amazing?
You know, it's.
I had a Polaroid camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to train myself the last Monday Night Raw and SmackDown that me and Shay went to. I had to keep my phone in my wallet or in my pocket.
Yeah.
I would come out, take pictures of the entrances, and have to put it away. Because there have been times where I went to pay-per-views like TLC at Toyota Center, and I'm watching it through the screen on my phone because I want to record and I want to catch everything.
Right.
Well, then I didn't remember much about the matches because instead of watching the matches, I'm watching them through my phone, which makes it less memorable.
Correct.
So I've trained myself. So, guys, when you go to live events, it's cool. Record the intros and stuff, but when the match is going on, they put the phones in the pocket. Trust me, you'll get enough time to take a picture. If they want to pose, they'll give you time on the turnbuckle to be able to slap your phone out. Because my phone now, even before you unlock the phone, they have the camera icon where you can just plug that on.
Mine does.
It's much more enjoyable when you're watching it live and not through your camera screen.
Correct. You have a choice when you pull out your camera, when you pull out your video camera especially. You can either enjoy where you are in the live event that you're at, or you can watch it on the screen. And it's so much more fun to enjoy it live. It's so much more fun.
It's a blast live.
Because, you know, most people are not going to do that. They're not going to get those moments live very often. You know, nobody goes to every pay-per-view. They go to select ones, or they go to select house shows. You want to enjoy those while you can, especially for what they cost.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to 2016 real quick.
Cool.
And
one of my favorites.
I want to talk about a match that was all right match. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't great. It wasn't horrible. It was a mediocre match. But it's funny to see where these two characters are today. It was the first match. And actually, I think it was the pre-show match. Yes. No. Yes, it was a pre-show match, which deserved to be on the pre-show. And that was Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler in a no disqualification match.
Yes, I remember.
Baron Corbin defeated Dolph Ziggler.
Mm-hmm. Where's
Baron Corbin now?
He is He
is Constable freaking Corbin.
Yeah.
Okay. At least Dolph Ziggler has the IC belt again. Thank you. I love me some Dolph. Out of everybody right now, Dolph Ziggler and The Miz are probably my two favorite wrestlers right now. But
throw in Jericho, and I'm right there with you. But Jericho's not active on the roster right now. So.
Exactly. So he doesn't qualify.
He doesn't qualify. You're right.
Now,
although I like Seth freaking Rollins too.
Seth freaking Rollins is great. But it's just funny when I look at that and I see Baron Corbin getting a rub from Dolph Ziggler, and nothing came from that.
Right.
They gave him money in the bank,
mm-hmm.
and they took it away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, they didn't. He lost. That means they took it away.
They took it away,
gentlemen. And then he won the U.S. Championship.
Mm-hmm.
2, maybe 3 months,
mm-hmm.
and he lost it.
And he took it away.
And then he was buried for a while, and now he's come back as Constable freaking Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we look at history, John. When has any constable of Raw, SmackDown, or anything actually made a difference in really anything?
No, nothing.
Exactly. It's a position where they get him seen so he's not forgotten while they figure out what the hell are we going to do with you.
Right.
Because he's a big guy, so he's a Vince guy.
The best one was John Laryngitis.
Oh, my God.
I love that guy.
People power.
I love that guy.
Well, he's the Nikki and Bree's stepfather now.
I know. How about that? Talk
Never
about deeply embedded in the family. Yeah, and Nikki and John are no longer an item, I hear.
I see. I don't know, because when you look at the promos for the Bellas on E, when you're watching Monday Night Raw and stuff, she's talking about a bachelorette party. So I'm thinking that whole canceling of the wedding was a total fake.
You think it might have been a complete work?
I think it was complete work to get people to tune in, which guess what? It actually did the opposite. They actually had a lower rating than they thought for their premiere.
Of course. And I knew they would, because, as much as I like the Bellas, they're not the stars. They're not the star that John Cena is.
Oh, they'll never be. They will never be.
When I was watching the Bellas, because I watched Total Divas. When I watched the Divas show, I didn't watch for the girls. I watched because I wanted to see the interactions with the guys. I wanted to see the interactions with Dolph Ziggler, the interactions in the back room. With all the different, because it gave you a chance to see what goes on in the back room. That's why I watched it. I didn't do it for the girls.
No, and that's one reason why I'm willing to watch Miz and Mrs.
Well, that's different.
Because I want to see them. For one, I like the Miz. I want to see him.
I love Maurice, too.
As a real person. I love Maurice, too, except when she opens her mouth to talk. I don't mind the opening of the mouth. I just don't like when words come out with it.
Okay. So, okay. All right. I got it. So you're okay with stuff going in and not coming out.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. All right, let's get back to Extreme Rules.
I think the Miz might agree with you to some extent.
I think he would. Hey, you're only a hop, jump, skip away, Miz. Y'all two come and see me.
That would be awesome.
All right, John. Before we let these nice listeners know what our best matches of Extreme Rules history is, let's talk about this coming Sunday's Extreme Rules. Without going into too much detail, we've got Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Champion. We got AJ Styles versus Rusev for the WWE Championship. We got the Leader of Worlds versus the B Team for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Carmella versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship. The Bludgeon Brothers versus Team Hell No for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins in a 30-minute Iron Man match for the Intercontinental Championship. Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley in a regular match. Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura in a singles match for the United States Championship. Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin in a regular match. Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens in a steel cage match. And The New Day versus Sanity in a tables match. John, I'm going to let you go first. What is the match you are most interested in this coming Extreme Rules 2018?
That is a stacked card. No doubt about it. What am I looking for? I'm looking forward to seeing how the B team handles this tag team match, because you think that they can't handle it, but I think they're going to do great. I'm really looking forward to seeing Rusev Day. I think Rusev could beat AJ. I do. I really think he can beat him.
But do you think management is actually going to have that done?
I've seen weirder things. And if AJ wants to pump up how many times he wins the title, he's got to lose it first.
That is very true. If he wants to be able to say, I held it as many times as John Cena or whatever, he does have to lose it in order to gain it back.
But I definitely think they need to break out the bubble wrap again for Kevin Owens, because he's going to need it.
Oh, he is definitely going to need it. I think it's going to be a good match. I think it's going to be a beatdown.
They should give Kevin Owens hazard pay.
What I would love to see is Kevin Owens standing next to the rope and Braun Strowman doing his run around shoulder slam. Just slam him into each side of the cage. Just go around in a circle running and just slamming him into each side of the cage.
If Braun's listening, he'll take that into account.
Please do. Yeah. Not only is he going to get these hands, he's going to get that steel.
Ouch. All right, how about you?
My match I'm most interested in is the Leader of Worlds versus the B Team. Multiple reasons for this. For one, I could actually see the B Team winning, which would be great for both teams, honestly. And And then it'd be great for Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel because it's about damn time they get some respect and they get some achievement for everything they've done.
Sure. You do realize this is brother versus brother, right?
And that's the other reason why we have yet to see Bray Wyatt versus Bo Dallas in a ring since they both made their main roster debut.
That's correct.
We have yet to see them in a tag match or a singles match.
That's correct.
So that is one of the other big reasons to see, because and even this past Raw, they teased it, but they actually never fought in that match against each other.
That's correct.
So that's going to be very interesting, and you know, once they both get tagged and they go in, because you know that's going to go. It's not going to start off that way.
Right.
One of them's going to get tagged, and the other one's going to get tagged, and that whole crowd,
they're going to go.
It's going to go nuts. The Rotunda boys are fighting each other.
There you go.
It's going to be great.
I think Mike might actually be in the. He might actually be in the audience for this.
I think he would.
Yeah.
I definitely think he would.
That's Mike Rotunda, the father.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And like I said, I could see the B team coming out on top.
It's about time. It's about time that Curtis got a push. It's about time that Bo got a push.
It is, and you know, it's funny because as I was watching Extreme Rules 2011, the very first match was a last man standing versus Randy Orton and CM Punk, who is the leader of the New Nexus. If you remember the New Nexus, they had David Otunga and Curtis Axel. So it was really interesting to see Curtis Axel coming down. And just think about how many groups Curtis Axel has actually been a part of.
Yes.
He was partners with Sandow.
Uh-huh.
He was partners with The Miz and Bo Dallas. He tried doing solo. So it's good that he gets gold. It may not be solo, but it's good that he's going to get gold, and I hope they carry it for a while.
Well, I mean,
either that or the B team, they end up doing a rematch and making this a long feud, and guess what? Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy invite the B team to the compound. And then they get thrown into the river of reincarnation, and guess what? Not the broken, that's TNA. The woken world just got bigger. And real quick before we go into our best matches, now that we're talking about this, how do you like Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel's parody of the Deleter of Worlds, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt?
I don't like it at all.
You don't? I love it. I think they do such a good job. Curtis Axel with his
Okay, all right. That
and the way he talks like Matt Hardy, it works. And then of course Bo Dallas sounds just like his brother when he's got that. I mean, he does it perfectly. And I think that's what, because Curtis Axel, you could see, okay, maybe he's not doing so well, but then when Bo Dallas does Bray Wyatt, it pulls it all together.
Yes.
And it makes it so great. And I know Bray Wyatt's loving every second of seeing his brother do this.
When they pan to Bray Wyatt during that,
he's trying not to laugh.
Bray Wyatt is just smiling so big. He's proud. He's really proud of him.
Well, you know, you got to look at where Bray Wyatt is and has been.
Sure.
And then you've got to feel you're the older brother and your younger brother's been struggling all these years. Mm-hmm. And you know he's got the charisma and the ambition to what? Grab that brass ring.
There you go. Got to grab that brass ring.
And so I'm extremely. I think that's the biggest match I'm looking forward to. I already know Braun Strowman's going to destroy Kevin Owens. I am really interested in the tables match because I love Sanity. I loved watching them in NXT. I can't wait till Nikki Cross joins them again. They need a female in that group, so then they don't look like all, as you would say, homeless men.
Well, I just if you take the ugly factor in that group, it is the ugly factor is 12, man.
Very true.
And that's just Eric Young.
All right, John, we have talked about the latest. We've talked about our worst moments. We've talked about our worst matches. We've talked about our best moments. So now it is time. Out of all Extreme Rules, what is your favorite match?
Well, as you know, I like gimmicks. and I like Chris Jericho.
Okay.
So I don't have to go very far to get to this one, but I'm going to go with 2016 Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho, the Asylum match with the weapons hanging from the top. And even though Dean Ambrose beat Chris, it was still a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the match.
Well, that whole storyline was great because remember that match came about because Dean Ambrose decided to rip up the $10,000 light-up jacket.
Yes.
That's how that feud started.
Yes.
And it ended up in an Asylum match where, if y'all don't remember what it was a black steel cage, and instead of having the platform at the top, there was a bar. And you had to stand on that to another bar higher that had the weapons hanging. Mops, buckets, kendo sticks.
Bag of tacks.
Which, thanks Mick Foley, is used regularly and painfully.
Everything he did was painfully.
Especially losing his tooth and almost snorting it up his nose.
Ouch.
Now, all right, so you said yours.
Don't be afraid to put Chris Jericho in it. I know you want to.
Well, see, here's where I'm stuck. I actually have two. And yeah, I have two, and I'm going to state them now. Which is really, really interesting because they both involve Edge.
You can't go wrong with that.
I'm going to have to say the runner-up would be the steel cage between Chris Jericho and Edge back in 2010. There was a lot of good pops in that. Like I said, that's how I rate it, as a lot of spots. And sure. For one, the fight started outside. You had Chris Jericho not wanting to get in, faking getting in. And so Edge decides to come out and, bust it all up and throw him in the ring. Mm-hmm. Chris Jericho hit numerous code breakers. They both fought atop the cage. One of the great ones is there was a springboard code breaker off the top rope.
Yes, I remember that.
Which was incredible. Jericho, of course, had numerous escape pins, and that's how you get that anticipation and that drive. Oh, my God, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? That, to me, is what also makes a good match. How many finishers were used? How many signatures? How many moves that were supposed to lay their opponent down, but it didn't? How many are those? And there were tons in that. Edge wins by a spear. Mm-hmm. And that was not for no belt. That was just a match. Because Chris Jericho had already dropped it to CM Punk, I want to say.
Was that the match where Jericho jumped off the top of the cage?
Yes.
Wow, he actually hurt himself on that move.
Yes.
Because he talked about it a few weeks later.
Now, here's my number one best match.
All right, give it to me.
Was back in 2009, and it was the main event. It was the ladder match for the World Championship. The Rated R Superstar Edge, the champion, versus Jeff Hardy. Now, what made this so great was this is the first solo ladder matchup these two would have. Now, everybody should know the history between Edge and Jeff Hardy, or Edge Christian and the Hardys. They revolutionized how ladder matches were forever going to play out,
and they'll be unmatched. Forever.
And they will be.
There will never be.
It doesn't matter how good the tag team divisions are now, because they are really good. I think they can be better if the storylines are better. But you are not going to have an Edge and Jeff Hardy. Matt and Christian were good in them, but the risk takers were Edge and Jeff Hardy.
Right.
So this match was incredible. You had Jeff Hardy do a drop kick to the ladder. Mm-hmm. You had Jeff Hardy put the ladder upside down and slam Edge into the lock
supports?
bars.
Yeah.
You had Jeff Hardy whisper in the wind off the ladder. Mm-hmm. You had both Both were on the ladder, and they had the ladder bridged between the ring and the barricade. They're both fighting on a 20-foot ladder when the ladder tips over, and they both come crashing through the bridged ladder. And then you had Hardy reversing a spear off the ladder, the same type of spear that was used at WrestleMania. He reversed that into a twist of fate in air. And you had Hardy win the title with Edge stuck in the ladder. He pulled Edge through the ladder so it was only his upper body outside, and he climbed and got it. Guess what happened after that?
Well, I remember what happened. CM Punk came out and spoiled the show.
Yes, sir. CM Punk cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase, puts Jeff Hardy into 2 go-to-sleeps, and successfully cashes in to win the World Championship.
And that was an oh shit moment too.
That whole match was an oh shit moment. So, seeing how I said the best, and a lot of my best moments were in 2009.
Sure.
I am going to state this. I think 2009, the inaugural Extreme Rules pay-per-view, was the best Extreme Rules pay-per-view that has been produced.
I don't think I disagree with that. And of course, you can't overlook Chris Jericho unmasking Rey Mysterio.
I'm glad you brought that back up. I wanted to mention and ask you a question about that. Chris Jericho 2 weeks in a row unmasked Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
I have a little bit of an issue with that. You have Rey Mysterio always talking about his luchador heritage and all of that.
Right.
When in luchador, in true luchador wrestling, do you see masks ever being taken off? You don't.
Never.
I don't like how they did that 2 weeks in a row.
Okay.
I understand he blocked his face.
Right.
But it still came off your head.
Actually, they showed his face.
They did, but he was still covering, and people were able to get pictures, and they were released and all that stuff. I just don't like how he did it. If you wanted to do it at the pay-per-view, I'd have a little bit of an issue with it because you always talked about how so much that pride was in you, but then why are you allowing WWE to take your mask off?
True. But to be fair, there are plenty of kayfabe pictures out there that have him unmasked, either at an amusement park or at a movie
but that's
theater.
Different. That's different because you do have some of these guys, even in Mexico and all that stuff, when they're doing personal appearances and all that stuff, they don't. But when they come to that ring and they're in that arena, that mask doesn't come off.
I think you're just bitter.
Huh?
I think you're just bitter.
I'm just bitter because I'm not him?
Yeah, because you're a Mysterio guy.
At least I can dunk a basketball.
Yeah. That's true. The only thing I can jump is the shark.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of The Brass Ring. I am good old JRei along with John Stephens. We hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy watching Extreme Rules this Sunday. And let me just leave you with this. No matter what's going on at work, if you're not happy and you think you should be somewhere else, take that step up those rungs and grab that brass ring.